This video covers the datasheet view of Access tables. Before watching, review my handout on the basics of Access so you're familiar with the four objects: tables, queries, forms, and reports, the uses of tables, the datasheet view versus the design view, and other terms related to tables such as fields, records, data types, and the primary key. Let's begin by creating a blank database file. Because tables are the required object in Access, it places us in a blank table. To start, we'll be covering these items: adding records to a table, naming fields, changing column widths and autofit, moving and deleting fields, and adding new fields and setting the data types. We'll ignore the first field, which is automatically numbered. We'll discuss this more in the next video. With the cursor positioned in the second column, type the data for record number 1. Use the Tab button on the keyboard to move across the row. Notice a new blank record becomes available under the current one. This is because new records can only be added to the end of the table. Now that we have several records created, we'll name the fields. You can either double-click at the top of each column and create a new field name, or right-click on the existing field name to rename it. To change the column widths, either drag the mouse between the field names or double-click, which will auto-fit it for the longest entry in that column. Fields can be deleted by clicking on the field name at the top of the column and hitting Delete on the keyboard. This is not the same as pressing backspace on the keyboard. You can also move a field by selecting the entire column by clicking on the field name at the top, then positioning the mouse on that field name. When it's a white arrow, simply drag the mouse to position the column in a new place. Sometimes Access displays warnings or error messages, such as if we try to type text where it's expecting a number data type. In this case, choose to allow a new value to be entered. If you're not quite sure how to get out of an error message or warning, then press Escape a couple times, which will cancel the entry that you're typing, or it'll delete the entire record that you are entering. Remember that when you move up or down off of a record, Access automatically saves your work in the datasheet view of a table. So if the information has already been entered into that record, you can delete the record simply by clicking on the gray button to the left of the record and then pressing Delete on the keyboard. Now that we've entered a few records and set up the field names, let's take a look at how Access stores data types. We'll click on the field ribbon. Data types define what type of data is stored in each field. Common data types include short text, number, currency, date and time, and yes and no. It's important to set the correct data types. For example, use short text for numbers that are not used in a calculation, such as a zip code, phone number, social security number, or bank account number. The commands to set the data types are on the right side of the Fields ribbon. These commands on the left of the ribbon are used instead when we want to insert a new column. Let's change the zip code field so it's properly set to short text rather than number by clicking here. Field sizes control the space Access reserves to store data. For instance, short text fields can store up to 255 characters. To change the field size, click in a column, and then from the Fields ribbon, enter a new field size. Verify the new field is correct. We won't lose any data because we determined a sufficient size for our data. Now we'll look at several different methods for entering new fields in a table. So far, we've only added new data by typing in the next available column to the right. Here are 3 other methods we can use while we're in the datasheet view. Choose where you want the new column to be, then from the left side of the Fields ribbon, click the data type, such as short text. Remember, the data type buttons on the right side of the ribbon only change the data types of existing fields. They don't insert new fields. The More Fields button lets you insert many preset data types, such as addresses or phone numbers. If you don't need all the fields, you can delete them. Another method to include a new field is to right-click on a field name in a column. The new field will be inserted to the left. The last method to add another field is to use the Click to Add button above a new blank column. Then choose the data type and enter the field name and the data. When there are a large number of records, it's useful to sort the data. Click an arrow next to a field name, then choose Sort Ascending or Sort Descending. To filter out certain records, click the arrow and use the check boxes. In the next video, we'll look at the design view of a table, and we'll see other ways to work with fields, including choosing a primary key, validation rules, input masks, and the lookup wizard.